Good afternoon. Oh, am I on? Check, check. Okay. Dobles, check. All right. So I'd like to call to order the April 21st meeting of the Merced County Association of Governments. Would you please call the roll, Joy?
Director Aguilar? Director Kale?
Here.
Director Espinoza?
Here.
Director Faria? Director Hogue? Here. Director McDaniel? Director Nagy?
Here.
Director Pedroso? Director Serrato? Director Silvera? Chair Pereira?
Present.
We do not have a quorum.
Okay. So let's proceed with especially with the informational stuff, but we'll hold all votes until we get another person. At this time, would anybody in the audience like to provide an invocation? We have a taker. All right. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Well, it does. It is working. Okay. If you're so inclined, please stand and bow your head. Heavenly Father, Father God, we just love you and we praise you. And Father God, we just invite you here with us in this building, in this place. We ask you, Lord, to be with our leaders, our directors who are going forward to assess the items before them that staff has worked diligently hard on preparing. Lord, we just thank you for the rain that you brought to our area, and we just ask for more of it in the state, specifically in this region. And we just praise you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Pledge. Emily, would you like to lead us? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for the invocation, Eric. We'll hold off on the approval of the agenda. We'll go to public comment. Public comment is available in advance of or during the meeting. If you'd like to make public comment, please come up to the podium. Okay, form a line because, all right. Hey, Tom. Yeah, amen. Okay, at this time, I'll close public comment. Item number 4 is our Caltrans report. We have Tom Dumas with us today. Yes, it is. Very well, thanks.
Good to see you. Glad everyone's well. Sorry, I'm an old man. I ran in the rain.
Take your time.
It's going to take a minute to catch my breath.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. California Natural Resources Agency is accepting applications for proposals for the Environmental Enhancement and Mitigation Program. They're through June 3rd. It's on an online system, so called SOAR. Sorry, not an acronym I'm using, but that's what it is. If you have any questions, give me a call. There's also a workshop that'll be April 26th, 28th, the 2nd, and the 4th of May. The CTC has done an open call for the ATP program. Those applications are due June 15th. The CTC also recently approved work for the Los Banos 152. They're going to raise the median through that highway from I Street down to Ward Avenue. That's part of their recent $578 million repair the state's infrastructure bill they just passed. Federal Highway has a low emissions vehicle program called 5339C program. I believe YARTS is already aware of that, may be applying for funds. I wish you the best of luck on that. The raise grants are also out there. The federal government has $1.5 billion in grant program for raise. That's to help disadvantaged and historic areas. The website for transportation.gov/raise grants has all the information for you. And there's also Federal Highways has a National Scenic Byways program. They have $22 million in funds available for that. I'd like to say that's a lot of money, but with a federal program, it's going to be slim pickings. But anyway, if there's anything else other than I can tell you, it's raining like cats and dogs in it. Yeah. And an old man with a bad back can't run very fast, and when he does, it's pretty rough. But anyway, anything else I can help you out with?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, I just drove from Modesto, probably an hour ahead of you. And on the southbound lanes, I think it was near Folkerth, it looked like maybe the drain was plugged, you know, as come around to turn and the highway kind of slopes down to the center median.
I saw that myself.
Yeah, okay, so.
There's actually a maintenance vehicle out there at the side.
Oh, so somebody.
Yeah, I'm in my daughter's Prius, and I decided I'll take the middle lane.
Yeah, there you go.
I didn't want to make what do you call it, a rooster when you're water on the jet ski? I mean, you're skiing? Yeah. That car's not made for that.
Yeah, Supervisor Espinoza? Yeah, thank you. Bottom left.
Okay, there we go. Thank you again for your presence again, and also we had a great update from your staff a few weeks ago on the Highway 140 and Plainsburg crossing there.
Mhm.
You know, we got the update regarding the roundabout or the lights, and so I know that you did help me. You know, helped us a lot on putting those four-way stops in. So I appreciate your presence and your contribution there.
I have to hand it to you. You're I've been here since dirt, and you guys have been trying for that project for a long time, and I was glad to see that it finally got some movement.
Thank you. I'm very persistent.
I appreciate that. It's nice to finally be able to say, yes, we're doing something other than, yeah, we're looking at it. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I had asked for an update, but also I had asked for the update on the Jayhawk system for 140 and Sutter, which is the carnitas and to the pharmacy there. Not on the 140, but thank you on that side anyway. So hopefully we get another update on where the Jayhawk system's at and planning.
I'll see what I can find out and get back to you.
Appreciate it very much. So have a safe drive home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any others? Stacy?
Tom, I just want to say thank you. I was pestering you yesterday on the Highway 59 sign issue, and I just appreciate you connecting with me quick, and Mauricio was quick to reply, and there was a local truck out there checking it out and resolving the issue by the afternoon. So just thank you for helping get that taken care of.
Oh, at least it didn't have any spelling, so we got it squared away quick.
Yeah.
And then, Tom, I guess I'm not as persistent as Supervisor Espinoza, but North Highway 59 has shoulder issues. And so, I've been bringing it up for a few years. And so it's gotten two areas where they've done the shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
They did them out kind of past the disposal site on 59.
Mm-hmm.
And then I brought it back up in January. And so last month or so, they come out and they went a little farther. They went to like the Edendale Canal, another couple miles. But there's some spots all the way out where, where the shoulder is 6 inches below the roadway. And so, I don't know, maybe it's still in the plan to come back out and finish it, but can you, and Dennis, he knows because he was here, so anyways, just if you could keep an eye on that.
I'll mention it to Mauricio's maintenance crew. I know they're very limited on the resources they have, so they have to take things at a chunk. But
Sure.
we'll see when the next turn for
Well,
chunking on 59
And the
is.
reason why is boating season's coming up. And, you know, of course, and also probably about May, you'll start getting the cattle trucks and trailers, you know, hauling cattle in and out. And it just, if you go off, I mean, you know, it causes accidents. And so, all right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down. Appreciate it.
No problem. Take care.
Okay, well, let's go back to item 2, approval of the agenda. Are there any adjustments? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd ask the board, staff would like to pull agenda item 8A and make some modifications to the resolution before we bring it back to the board in May.
Okay. Okay. Been moved by Espinoza, seconded by Faria. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring back to the dais. Would you please call the vote? Joy? Oh, we don't have to do roll call anymore. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Sorry for that faux pas. All right, we'll move to item 5, which is our Citizens Advisory Committee report. We have Ursula Stock with us today. Thank you for coming out in the weather to give us an update.
My pleasure. I like the rain.
Me too.
Hi, I can almost see you over this. So yeah, we keep meeting monthly and most of us show up regularly. But so these are some of the items of interest that we discussed last month. The Citizens Advisory Committee recommended that we accept the drug and alcohol policy provided by the First Transit. We recommended approval of the overall work program for the fiscal year 2022-2023. And we recommended approval of the fiscal year 21-22 overall work program amendment number 2. For details on that, you'll have to ask Stacy. Other points of interest include the committee discussed outreach ideas and reiterated past requests to make sure to include rural communities when planning outreach events. Staff emphasized the desire to include all communities when planning outreach events. And Simisone discussed the importance of the regional transportation plan and sustainable community strategy and the role that it plays regionally. And that's what I have for you today. Any questions?
Any questions, Ursula? All right, well, thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
and giving us an update.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll move to item 6, which is our informational items. You all received them in your packet. Does anybody have any questions or comments? No? Okay. Then we will move to item 7, which is our consent calendar. Does anybody have anything that they would like to pull or make comment on the consent calendar? Goodness. Okay. All right. Is there a motion to? Been moved by McDaniel and seconded by Espinoza. Is there any public comment on these items? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we'll move to item 8, Transit Joint Powers Authority for Merced County. These there's one item, right? Oh, okay, so we don't have, that was the only action. I thought there was 2 action items, okay. So we'll move to item 9A, which is a discussion item. That's draft and operating and capital draft budget for the fiscal year 22-23. Nav Bagri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, directors. Today, we're going to be discussing the Transit Joint Powers Authority's draft budget for 22-23. We're going to go over the operational budget along with capital. Christine's going to go over first our success, our challenges, and then I'll go into the numbers, and then Christine will go back into what our capital needs are for our fleet. So, Christine, take it away.
Thank you, Nav. Good afternoon, directors. Nice to see you all. So we've had quite a few accomplishments over the last fiscal year. We've been pretty busy. We've received 7 of our clean diesel buses that we had on order. We paid for partially with CARES Act. We've procured a number of bus stops. We're getting ready for the installation of those later this spring. We've purchased 2 utility trucks for TJPA, but there's a chip shortage, and so we're expecting to see those probably a year and a half from when we ordered them a year ago. So we'll have those soon. We've installed driver compartments in the older fleet and done short-range transit plan outreach. We're going through the process of finalizing that, so you guys should be seeing a draft next month. We've completed the engineering and started the construction of the administration offices for Transit Joint Powers Authority. We've repaired and maintained the bus yard. It's about going on 5 years old next year, and so there's a lot of things that we're just trying to do some preventative maintenance on so that we reduce maintenance costs and ongoing operating costs in the future. We've issued purchase orders for 7 cutaways. We're also seeing some chip delays there, and so we should be seeing those vehicles in about a year from today. And then we've issued some purchase orders for 8 electric buses. Again, chip shortages there. We should hopefully see the 5 the 5 new Flyers we won't see for a while, but the 3, we won't see any of them for a while. So we've ordered them, but we're in line, we're in queue, but there's just kind of a nationwide, worldwide shortage of chips for vehicles. And so we're not exempt from that. Some of a summary of some of the things that you're going to see in the budget for this year include 3 sources of COVID-19 funding. These are essentially carryover from what we received over the past 2 years. We've seen a slight increase of 5% in the operating budget. That's mostly attributed to the operations and maintenance annual increase that's been budgeted for First Transit since we entered into that contract. And we also adjust for a fuel increase. And so it's not entirely, there were some sections that were reduced, but the overall increase was about 5%. And those 2 combined make up a majority of what we were able to reduce due to the fleet replacement and just a reduction in the maintenance costs. We have a cost of living adjustment for staff, and so you'll see that increase there on the staffing side. We also don't increase any of our staffing levels. We're maintaining the same. And we just are establishing our priorities in essentially network improvements based on the short-range transit plan recommendations, ongoing replacement of the fleet, so just essentially designing the vehicles and keeping them going. Facility and bus stop maintenance, capital projects to essentially address the COVID-19 lasting impacts. So that includes our administration building that had some COVID-19 funding. And then preparing for the installation of our infrastructure at the operations and maintenance facility for our electric buses that we'll be getting eventually. And so this brings us to the actual numbers, and I'll turn that over to Nav for details.
Thank you, Christine. As Christine mentioned, our overall budget increased by 5%, which is $732,000. This is our revenue slide. On our revenues, the biggest increase you'll see is on our state funds. We're anticipating about a 35% increase in the STA, which is about $710,000. We'll see an increase in our local funds of $337,000, which is 30% increase, which is the fare box as we go back into full swing of modes on our system. We also, start charging UC Merced or full amount and our Measure V subsidies along with UC Merced College. We're also, as Christina mentioned, we're using other funds of federal funds, which will carry over the next 5 years to help us sustain our service and not relying on other local funds. Any questions on the revenue? On the expenditures, as Christine mentioned, our biggest increase is on our operating and maintenance expense, which is about an $819,000 increase. But we also have a decrease in our professional services and special services, about $167,000, which is about 6%. We're also anticipating an increase in our fuel, as everybody fuels it at the gas pumps. We're projecting about a 20% increase in actually 17% increase in our fuel. Other than that, that includes that 5% increase in our overall expenditures, which is about $732,000. Any questions on the expenditures? None? Okay, Christine, we'll talk about the capital needs.
Thanks, Nav. I just wanted to also call out, you guys may recall last year when we adopted the budget, we did reduce some of our expected revenues from our passengers in anticipation of the reduction in ridership. And so you're going to see that reinstated. We're still below what we were in estimating in 1920, but we're slowly making progress. I think when I looked at the ridership for March last year, we're at about a 25% increase over last year. So that's pretty significant, considering we've been seeing pretty minimal increases, but people are getting back out there and riding the bus. So that's good. Okay, and then Nav just whispered in my ear. We are applying for, we're applying our low carbon transit operation program funding for free fares. And so you'll see that item next month, but basically from the months of July through September, or however long the funds can take us, we're going to be offering free fares for general fare passengers. And so rather than just giving UC Merced or Merced College their money back for not paying for their students, they're going to continue to pay for that, as well as Measure V, and then anyone who's not eligible for our free fare program, because at this point, about 60% of our passengers are eligible for free fares. We're going to do a free fare program using the LC Top funds for all of our general passengers. So all of the buses will be free, but on the revenue side, we'll still be collecting revenue from those sources that are committing to our fare revenues. And so that will match up with what Stanislaus is doing. I believe that Fresno is offering free fares in the month of July. And so you can essentially go through the middle of the state for free on a bus. So that's good news. And then, so getting into the capital expenditures that are carrying over into fiscal year 21-22, as I mentioned, we've had a lot of shortages in parts and that sort of stuff. And so the administrative building, I'm happy to say that we've kicked off construction April 11th. And so that's well underway. You'll see pictures in the agenda packet for next month, but it's totally bare. They've ripped everything off the walls and started cutting into the ground. And so they're making progress quick. So that's exciting. We're hoping to get ahead of anything that can cause any delays. And then so that's carrying over into this year's capital budget. Sorry if I'm talking too fast, I'll slow down. And then the bus replacement, a lot of those are carrying over simply because of the delay in the manufacturing. Essentially, there's a chip shortage. So it's called a multiplexer, which is essentially the electronic brains of the bus. There is a halt on some manufacturers. There's been a reduction in apportionments to manufacturers, and then there's been a just straight elimination of apportionments. And so we're kind of dealing with that as we can. We're not the biggest fish in the pond, but they've made us feel that, or they've told us that we're going to continue to be important customers. And so we're just kind of holding on to see what's going on. But within the last 2 weeks, we got news that they're going to halt all production on our New Flyer brand buses. And so we'll explore options as we have them, but we should have an answer within the next week. So 28 vehicles are currently on order, not currently on order, but 28 vehicles will be pulled into the next fiscal year capital budget. 8 of those are zero emission buses. 8 are full-size transit vehicles that we're seeking grant funding to help pay for or help offset the costs of, and then 12 cutaways, 7 of which are on order, and 5 of which we have secured funding for. So we'll get that purchase order issued so we can see those buses hopefully within the next year and a half. And so there's a list of all of the funding sources that those vehicles are comprised of for a total of $16 million and some change. So capital key expenditures also include our bus stop installation and improvements. So that's the labor of installing the bus shelters within each of your jurisdictions. We've met with jurisdictional staff to identify locations and priorities, and we'll go through and just confirm everything, confirm permits and engineering specs, and get them installed as soon as we get the contractor finalized on board. So that should be within the next couple weeks that we start the program, and then we anticipate delivering those within 6 months. And then the electric infrastructure of the facility, this is the charging for the battery electric buses. We're aiming to have the electric infrastructure accommodate up to 20 buses because that is the room that's allowed within our facility. And then we're working through our short range transit plan on an electrification plan and working directly with the Air District to establish a plan for TJPA for the electrification of the fleet. This is a requirement that's required by the Innovative Clean Transit rule through the Air District. And so we have to have a plan adopted by 2023 or 2024. And we will bring that back to you guys for consideration and future implementation. Anybody have any question on the capital items?
Yes. The in the maintenance and maintenance facility 5339, it's $2 million. What's the breakdown on that?
That's actually called a bus and bus facilities. It was a grant that we were awarded for the battery electric buses for the five.
Not regular maintenance.
No, sorry, I think that's miscategorized in the budget. It's bus and bus facilities. It's an FTA grant that's managed by Caltrans. So that was one we received back in December of 2019, and those vehicles are on order.
And so we haven't spent any of the money because they're not here. Okay.
Yeah, but we've secured it and we've issued the purchase order, and so as soon as,
Rolling it forward.
yeah, as soon as the buses are here, we're able to, because we have to cut the check within, I think, 15 days of when we receive the vehicles or accept the vehicles, and so we will have to make sure the funds are there. You guys have authorized us to spend them, and then we're good to go.
Any other questions? No? Okay.
Okay, so next month, you will be seeing there are additional procurements coming up next year. We are reserving some set-aside funding essentially as a grant match for the improvement of our onboard technology. So that's going to be everything from passenger counters, computer-aided dispatch, automatic vehicle location, onboard cameras, enunciation, automatic voice enunciation, and the like. So basically passenger amenities and then dispatch software so that we're able to better operate. And so a system upgrade could cost anywhere from $1 million to $2.5 million, depending on what size platform you get. And so we're going to start setting aside some money, start planning for that. Within the next 2 years, our current contract will be expiring for our fixed route services. And so this is kind of the seed money to start going after additional funds to help pay for that. And then the ongoing replacement of fleet, we are going to be working with the city of Merced to purchase a battery electric bus that they have partial funds for a grant. And then we will consider matching that with some of our Measure B or HVIP or capital reserve when those funds become available. So next month you will see for action the same budget approval. And if you guys have any questions before that, please let Navarre know. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just want to note, and I mentioned this to Nav before, for any of our board members that aren't able to be here today, we'll make sure that we meet with them to give them the same draft budget presentation before the action item on next month's agenda.
Okay. No questions? All good. Okay. Thank you. So now we'll move to Merced County Association of Governments. 10, we have 2 action items. A, which is approve the 22-23 overall work program and budget. Nav Bagri.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this presentation we gave last month, nothing has really changed, but I will give you a quick summary about our budget. We are going to be conducting 3 new studies. One's an EV charging station countywide, along with a non-motorized transportation study, which is also going to be countywide. We just wrapped up interviewing our proposals, and so we should be bringing back something to this body in the next couple of months for approval to get into contract with the vendor. We're also going to be doing a SB1, a Sustainable Community Study, which is a part of a grant funding. If we reach a certain threshold, we're able to tap into this grant. So we're going to be looking at our Sustainable Communities, SES basically. We're also going to be concluding 3 studies, which is the RTP, the REAP, and the RENA studies. This budget also includes a 3% COLA for staff, and we're also presenting 3 new positions. One's a planner for either it's going to be for housing or traffic modeling, whichever comes first. And then we're also going to be looking at fulfilling an accounting tech position and an administrative assistant position, which those 2 positions will be providing service through all agencies, TJPA, RWA, YARDS, and any other what we do like ABA and SAFE, so all the programs that we administer. So the revenues increased by $670,000, which is page 147 of your packet. That's about a 5% increase. That's due to that's in part because of housing. We're bringing housing under this revenue, and then we also have the SB1 planning grant and the PPM, which is the planning, programming, and monitoring funds, which were available to us for next fiscal year and the following subsequent years for the next 3 years. So we went from $3.6 million to $4.2 million in our total revenues. And our expenditures, which is on page 148, same increase by $670,000. That's because of salaries, the cost of living adjustments, the three positions, the potential merit increases, along with professional services, which we talked about those 3 studies: the EV study, the non-motorized study, and the SB1 grant, along with those other studies that are concluding in the next fiscal year. So that concludes this report. Any questions?
You guys are quiet today. Oh, wait, Scotty's not here. I'm a supervisor, Silvera. Okay, well, this is an action item. What's the pleasure? All right, at this time, I'll open up for public comment. Seeing none, we will bring it back to the dais. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We'll move to item B, which is award the 2022 Ana Maria Fuentes Scholarship recipient, Mary Michael Rollins.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Mary Michael Rawling, your Public Affairs Manager. And really quick, I would like to introduce Griselda Villa. She's our newest member of our team. I was able to finally fill the vacancy for Public Program Specialist. So if from time to time you hear from her, you can put a face to a name. I'm here today because I have the honor of requesting your approval of the award of the 2022 Ana Maria Fuentes Scholarship to Livingston High School senior Emily Solorio. The selection committee met last month and reviewed the 24 applications we received. And the committee unanimously recommended Ms. Solorio for the award. She is ranked second in her class. She has a 4.37 cumulative GPA. She was recognized for her significant achievements, both in academics and outside of the classroom, including being on the A honor roll, receiving a seal of biliteracy in Spanish, being a member of the California Scholarship Federation, Hispanic Youth Leadership Council, Science, Technology, Engineering, Math Club, and more. She plans to stay local and study at UC Merced next year and pursue a degree in environmental science. So we're very pleased to present this to you today. Appreciate the work of our committee, which included members of our staff that knew Ana Maria Fuentes. And at your request, we have included her bio in the agenda for you to know if you want to learn more about her. And I would just ask if Director Faria, as a member of the committee, if you wanted to add anything to the presentation about your work on the committee. And I did not even tell him I was going to do this, so apologies.
Yeah, I get put on the spot a lot. But this is an easy one. Young woman has a phenomenal record of success and hard work, and all her references show that she's not only successful in all her academic and her extracurricular, curricular, co-curricular work, but she's also a fine, upstanding citizen. And I think this is a well-deserved award. And I was very pleased to sit on the committee. We spent a good deal of time going through the applications. And of course, anytime I get a chance to recognize the success of young people, since that's what I do for a living, I'm always happy to thank you for the opportunity to do that. So I would, when it comes time, I would be happy to make the motion.
It's time.
Okay. All right.
All right, so we have a motion by Director Faria and a second by Director Espinoza. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move to item 11. This is a discussion item. The active or ATP Cycle 6, Stacy Guzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tom Dumas did speak of this item in his update. I really just wanted to, I would normally put this on an info list, but I wanted to just draw your attention to it. I did the same for the technical review board, so and sent the information to your staff. But I wanted to highlight it because it is an excellent program, the Active Transportation Program, and it's the call for projects. They're open for applications right now through June. This is an excellent opportunity for your jurisdictions to leverage your alt modes funding from Measure V. And it's also a funding program that is consistent with the types of projects the state is looking for us to increase. And I would suspect if some of the legislation that we've been discussing is successful, these will be the types of projects that will help us achieve our SES compliance. So any projects that are reducing greenhouse gases by giving people alternative modes of travel are right up the alley of what we're trying to achieve. So just wanted to let you know that this program is there. So if your constituents are talking to you about needing sidewalks or bike paths, this is a competitive program. But when you're able to leverage your local money from Measure V, particularly that ATP fund, it could be really, really compelling. Just wanted to note on page 160, we are looking at programming years 23, 24, all the way through 26, 27. So really be thinking long term. And there's also a summary of the types of projects. So you could do infrastructure, plans, non-infrastructure projects, infrastructure, non-infrastructure combined hybrid projects. And then they have this second year of a pilot program called the Quick Build. Think of it, the example I've used, I think is, and I think it's true for Livingston. I'm hoping if Director Espinoza can correct me. If you think you have a concept that could work, but you want to basically try it out, this is short-term, temporary solution. So let's say, for example, I think they did this in Livingston, where you want to have like a practice roundabout, and whether it's K-rail or some other kind of temporary infrastructure in place to see if a roundabout would work or it could be a good solution. This is the type of grant funding that could help you get the short-term solution in place to try it out and to just, it's why it's called the Quick Build. That's just one example, but just something that's worth taking a look. None of our jurisdictions were successful in cycle 5, but you can see Gustine received an award in cycle 4, and the county in cycle 3, and the city of Merced's also been successful in previous cycles. So just an encouragement to take a hard look at this as a good opportunity to leverage funds. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Director Nagy, your project, is that the Harry Schmidt Park bike path? Was that part of this? Yeah. So it's real, huh? Very helpful. Okay. Any questions? Nope. Okay. Then we'll move to the Merced County Regional Waste Management Authority. Item 12A is to authorize the executive director to enter into a contract for the purchase and startup of a low NOx flare in the amount of $695,348 with Perennial Energy LLC, and authorize the related amendments to the fiscal year 21-22 budget. We have Eric Setz. Whoa, there he is.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Item 12A is an action item that comes before you to authorize the executive director to enter into a contract for the purchase and startup of a low NOx flare in the amount of $695,348 with Perennial Energy. Perennial is the current flare contractor at our Highway 59 landfill site, so they do have some history with us. This action is also, 12A is also to authorize a related amendment to the fiscal year 21-22 RWA budget. The authority is required to replace the existing flare at the Highway 59 landfill in order to meet new regulations from the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District. On February 4, 2022, the authority released a request for proposals for the purchase and startup of a low NOx flare to be installed at the Highway 59 landfill. The authority received 2 proposals. One proposal was responsive. The other proposal was not responsive. It was incomplete. So the authority is moving forward with Perennial, the responsive bidder. The authority is also seeking an amendment to the fiscal year 21-22 budget to move $800,000 from capital improvement project number 80012 to the CIP project number 80060 to purchase an air district compliant low NOx flare at Highway 59. Staff hereby requests the board to approve the fiscal year 21-22 budget amendment, moving $800,000 from CIP 80012 to CIP 80060 for the purchase of the Air District compliant low NOx flare at the Highway 59 landfill, and seeks to authorize the executive director to enter into a contract for the purchase and startup of an Air District compliant low NOx flare in the amount of $695,348 with the selected vendor, Perennial Energy. This concludes my staff report.
This may be a silly question, but does that, I mean, it doesn't state that it includes installation, but is that what you mean?
That's an excellent question. It does not include installation. We will come back to this body and seek approval to award that. We're going to go out for RFP and select vendors and go through that procurement process. So we'll come back to this body to approve that.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I'll open up for public comment at this time. No public comment. We'll close public comment, bring it back to the dais. What's the pleasure of the board? Anybody want to make a motion or talk about it? Been moved by Director McDaniel, seconded by Director Serrato. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Okay. The motion carries 7-1. All right, we'll move on to item B. Authorize the executive director to enter a contract for the SB 1383 reporting tool in the amount of $175,000 for a total of 3 years with MSW Consultants. Again, Eric Zetz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 12B is an action item that comes before you to authorize the executive director to enter into a contract for Senate Bill 1383 reporting tool program in the amount of $175,500 for a total of a 3-year contract with Minerva Solid Waste Consultants. This reporting tool will allow each jurisdiction to collect data required by Senate Bill 1383 and will allow RWA to share a shared responsibility and ability to compile this data into the required CalRecycle annual reports. On September 2, 2021, staff released an RFP where proposals were due at that time by October 15, 2021. At that time, 4 proposals were received. An evaluation team made up of the jurisdiction representatives and RWA staff reviewed and scored each of the proposals. Following vendor evaluations and interviews, representatives from the jurisdictions chose Minerva Solid Waste Consultants. The selection of Minerva Solid Waste Consultants was based on their length of experience in the solid waste industry, as well as the look, feel, ease of use of the program software and the jurisdiction that the jurisdictions would have to use. Although Recyclist ranked first on the cumulative scoring, Minerva Solid Waste Consultants was the top scoring proposer on all evaluation criteria, with the exception of cost. Section 1.9 of the procurement RFP states that the authority reserves the right to make an award on the basis of suitability, quality of service to be provided, and the ability to perform the requirements. On February 4, 2022, RWA staff was directed by the Technical Review Board to consider additional steps in the procurement process prior to taking action on a contract execution. Following this direction, authority staff mailed out letters to the top 3 scoring proposers, requesting their best and final offer for the Senate Bill 1383 reporting tool program. All three proposers submitted their final offers to the authority. Following evaluation of the best and final offer submittals, Minerva Solid Waste Consultants was the selected vendor to provide the Senate Bill 1383 reporting tool program. Minerva Solid Waste Consultants has a long history of experience in the solid waste industry. Their product is tailored to meet industry-specific needs, and the product provides jurisdictions an ease of navigation and use. Per the agency's purchasing policy, 10% of the board-approved contract amount is available for change orders as needed at the discretion of the executive director. Therefore, upon execution of the contract, a not to exceed amount for this contract will be $193,050. Staff is therefore recommending the governing board authorize the executive director to enter into contract for Senate Bill 1383 reporting tool in the amount of $175,500 for a total of 3 years with the selected vendor, Minerva Solid Waste Consultants. And this concludes my staff report.
Thank you. Any questions, Eric? Nope. I'll go out for public comment. Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, so the 175, 500 is the total of the 3 years, so it's divided out, it'd be 58,000 a year.
Right, correct. Correct. Thank you for that clarification. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, then we'll go out for public comment. Any public comment at this time? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. What is the pleasure of the board? Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor or Director McDaniel and a second by Director Serrato. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we'll move to 12C, Act on Personal Injury Claim, Michael Buckley. And for that, we have Emily Hayden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You all have seen this claim before. You've previously entered into 2 extensions of time on it. This is the individual who was struck by his own vehicle after it was struck by a much larger vehicle at the Billy Wright landfill. I'm expecting to have additional information about the claim in late May. They are assessing whether he will need back surgery. So they'll know by then whether physical therapy is working or if surgery is going to be required. So we're asking for an extension of time to October to act on this claim. If anyone has any questions.
1st of October or 31st of October?
24th of October, I believe.
All right. Any questions of Emily? Nope. Okay. Do I have to open this one up for public comment? All of them. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. What's the pleasure of the board? Been moved by Director McDaniel, seconded by Director Espinoza. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, we'll move on to item 14, which is the Executive Director's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A few items. I first want to start by saying thank you to everyone for coming out to the City County dinner. And I want to again thank our staff for putting a great event together. And also that we can confirm that Measure V now has $101 million. So progress. So thank you all for coming out.
Is that another party?
Yeah. Yeah. Every million, right? I think in February we got 1.8 million just in February. So when we crossed over the $100 million threshold, we crossed it big. We took a big step. This is ignore the picture. Poor Amy Lee didn't know I was taking a screenshot last night when I was in this meeting. I'll come to this in a quick second. The second thing is I just want to clarify, I did receive a couple questions about offering a virtual option for today. What we continue to struggle with is anytime we offer a virtual option, we're allowed to under the 361 resolution, AB 361 resolution that you all adopt. But it really is at the discretion of the local jurisdiction that hosts, and while we all have virtual capability, we need on-site IT as well, and it makes it a little bit more challenging. So we are going to, as long as we have the AB 361 resolution in place and the board continues to act, we will continue to work with the jurisdictions to ensure that that is an option. But I also wanted to offer the option of, while we continue to have a hybrid meeting, if we would want to consider either continuing to meet at the county where we have a system in place that moves and works very well, and their staff has been very accommodating. And also, in speaking with NAV, we are probably likely will be able to have the virtual meetings in our conference room with all the board in about a month and a half. So the alternative is it's not as smooth of a process as we continue to move locations and offer virtual because it's different at every location and staff capacity is different at every location. The smoothest option would be to continue to meet at the county and or MCAG for the short time being until we kind of know what this next chapter looks like. So I was just hoping to maybe get a little bit of feedback on that, if there were any preferences or not, because I know it does enhance the virtual connectivity to the audience participating, but it sometimes is needed as well for board member participation.
Anybody have any comments? Okay.
Okay, so now I just have to go ask the county.
Hey, I know a guy.
Well, we do think that we could do the solution if needed, just at least maybe even as a backup, because we don't want to overuse the county facility. So what I'm hearing and what we'll do is we will, for the time being, move our meetings to either the county or the MCAG building where we have the functionality that we need. We'll continue to offer the virtual connectivity. So as long as the board continues to approve the AB 361 virtual option. That is the language. That's the bill, right? Okay.
Yes.
I have so many bill numbers in my head right now. Okay, so that was a little bit more of a discussion. Wanted to also let you know and invite you if you'd like to participate, but we have our community workshop on our RTP SES, and it'll be a joint workshop for the public along with our RENA process. Just maximizing the use of time that we're going to get from our residents that are going to be participating. That's happening on April 26th at 6 p.m. We will be having it at our conference room as well as a virtual option. And it's on all of our social media. And if you would like any additional information, I would be happy to get that to you. And I think the last thing I wanted to say, I did want to mention, those of us that are participating will be in Washington, D.C. in about a week and a half. Not quite that far, but for our One Voice program. So we'll be reporting out on that. And before I go to this slide, I did just want to make a staffing announcement. So Mary Michael introduced Griselda. So we're happy to have her. This is her first week, I think day 4. She keeps coming back. It's always a good sign. And then also, I'm going to embarrass him. He's not going to forgive me. But we are losing Skylar Summers. He's our assistant transit manager for maintenance. He came into the role that was a brand new role, so really kind of helped shape our system in terms of how to just monitor and track the maintenance of our vehicles and our facilities and everything else, and just a great all-around guy, and has been an excellent member of the staff. So he's accepted a job in Tulare, where he commutes from, so Tulare County. So I think his last day is next week. So we're all sad to see him go, and I couldn't not embarrass him before that. So thank you for everything, Skylar. And then lastly, I put this up, and I can send this to you. Obviously, this is a screenshot. I participated last night in a statewide community listening session, forum, town hall, something. And this is on the AB 285 report. So I spent quite a bit of time, I think last month or the month before, talking about the study, the report that came out of the UC Institute for Transportation Studies through the Strategic Growth Council, and some of the really concerning recommendations that they were making. Some of those recommendations have already been developed into bills that are being actively considered around tying transportation funding to our eligibility for transportation funding to a jurisdiction's compliance with the SES. And also kind of revisiting the role and scope of MPOs like MCAG and land use authority and whatnot. But when I saw this slide, I wanted to, this is kind of a drilling down, I think, of those recommendations even into something more specific. And I just wanted to kind of, take a moment to just, again, look at them and say, well, this is really a mind-numbing kind of how could this be what's making sense right now moment. So our biggest concerns are obviously, they're proposing things like giving MPOs, an MPO is an MCAG, control over program fund allocation. So when your jurisdictions are applying for AHSC or, other funding allocations that you apply for directly, having that be under the oversight of MCAG. Requiring that we determine whether your local general plans and your RENA is consistent with our RTPSES. That's the local land use consequences or implications. Imposing consequences for the jurisdictions that are consistent in their land use policies. Requiring that we do project and plan level performance analysis when we're determining whether or not your projects would be included in the RTPSES, and your projects would have to be included to be in the FTIP, which then would mean you'd be eligible for funding. So you can see, I think the last one I'll mention is just revisiting MPO governing structures. So the representativeness of governing boards and configuration of MPO boundaries. So that would open up this body to include more than just the elected officials who represent the region potentially, and also looking at combining MPOs where possible. So the state is taking this out to the street. A number of legislative members have already introduced bills to try to move some of these things forward. But I will say MCAG, along with our Valley representatives and CalCog and self-help counties, all of the statewide organizations are really trying to pump the brakes because of the feeling that not that all these ideas are bad, because we want to have better performance in delivering on our RTPSES, but it should be done in a more deliberative, collaborative way that takes a little bit more time than just a matter of a few weeks. So just want to have that on your radar. I've been working on a legislative update. It's not something I typically do, but there are just so many bills. And I'll continue to add our letters of opposition and support as they're relevant in your packets. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, you're welcome. So now we'll move to item 15, which are director's reports. I'll start to my left, and if anybody has anything. Yes.
Are we going to be penalized through the environmental impact that we can't get our buses electrified because it's not available? I mean, I don't understand the shortage of the chips and yet they're pushing us to be green.
Mhm.
As a jurisdiction, are we going to be penalized because we can't get these buses?
At this point, we're trying to get through a planning process to get to a place where we're strategizing to get those electric buses. Right now, we're just applying for grants that are paying for a majority of the cost of the buses. So,
like a fictional bus because we can't get the chips to get them completed.
well, it's not just for electric buses; it's actually for all buses.
Okay.
And so, we heard that this week or last week that they were going to stop production at New Flyer. And they're freaking out. I mean, that's like it's a manufacturing facility just being shut down. And so they're just trying to find it. From what I understand, some of the metals are coming from unique places in the world. Skylar knows the details. You want to come speak to it, Skylar? Embarrass him one last time.
And he couldn't leave without some mic time. And while Skylar's coming up, I will say the requirement is that we have to a percentage of our acquisitions buses that we order have to be zero emission by a certain date. So I would assume that if we're able to meet that threshold, we should be in the clear, but I'm okay. Go ahead, Skylar.
Chairman and directors, thank you. So our shipping is causing issues. Some of the materials are made in countries that are now at war. And so with Ukraine, some of the materials that come out of there have to be shipped so they can make the chips get sent out. We all go and say the word chips, and that just everybody kind of doesn't know what that means. What actually that means is that the facilities that turn them into computer boards, then those computer boards are sent to companies like Vansco Parker, who make the multiplexing system that's the brain of the buses. Same thing for Ford. It's all a chipset, and without those chipsets and those components coming from other countries, it's not just one country. It's not made in China, and then we just don't get it, and China doesn't want to send them to us. It takes materials from all different countries that all get shipped to one location that turns into a chipboard by the time we receive it. Well, we don't receive it. The manufacturer receives it to make their computers with, and then those computers have to be allocated out to manufacturers. The manufacturers have seen that they used to, let's say, were getting 800 allocated to them monthly. We're now down to 200, and now they're being told that they don't know how many they're going to be allocated to. So in the next 2 weeks, New Flyer, the company that we are right now having zero production with, should be receiving a notification of what allocation they'll get, whether it's 10% of their normal allocation or 15% or nothing. And so they're nervous, just like everybody else is that is waiting on this to see if they're going to be shutting down. So the chip shortage isn't just some simple, we're not just manufacturing, we're producing them, but some of the labs in, I don't know the name of it, it's in China, actually shut down last month for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So they weren't even producing chips. So that makes a shortage everywhere. I would hope that this wouldn't affect our funding, because I'd hope they'd understand that it's not that we didn't procure the vehicles correctly. It's that the manufacturers can't even produce the vehicles, which will hurt the manufacturers in the end also. So you guys have any more, or was that?
That's it.
Okay, you're welcome.
I'll just add to that. Thank you, Skylar. Some of the larger transit agencies that you'll see, like SFMTA, VTA, anywhere down south, Metro, they have an even higher standard than us. And so we have to have, in 2026, we have to start purchasing 25% of our new vehicles as electric, whereas in 2026, they have to start producing, I think it's like 50 or 100% new electric buses. So we're on the tail end of it. And so any implications that the implementation of electric buses has is going to hit them before it hits us. And so then they'll adjust it before it hits the smaller 8 transit agencies. So we're trying to follow the rules and get the plan in place for zero emission. But at this point, it's not being enforced. It's just being encouraged.
So I think
With
that's
heavy
just
grant
to say,
subsidies.
no, we don't expect it to impact us.
Okay.
Well, I just want to say that we have a new city manager in Dos Palace. So we conducted our first meeting on Tuesday with him, and I think things are going to move forward. And I'm looking forward to coming up with some really good plans for Dos Palace. So anyway, that's pretty much all I have.
Okay.
So see you next month, hopefully.
Los Banos is happy to announce that the fair is back. We all know it as the May Day Fair. And so Saturday night, we're going to have the banquet and the ball. Supervisor Silvera is the auctioneer. And then have the parade next Saturday. The fair starts Wednesday, runs through Sunday. It's such an integral part of Los Banos' culture and history. Without it, we feel we're like we're lost. Where's our fair? So we're very excited to bring that back. There's a ton going on in Los Banos this week. Saturday is a street fair, Chamber of Commerce Street Fair during the day. Also Saturday night, some of my students from a number of years ago called and were looking for a drummer, and so I said, well, I'll dust off my drum set, and so I'm going to be playing with them Saturday night down at the brewery. So if anybody's in Los Banos Saturday night, we have a very nice brewery called Paraiso, and I'll be back behind my drum set. And let's see what else is new. That's about it coming from Los Banos, and so there we go. Thank you.
Director Serrato? Director Nagy?
We're looking for a city manager. Doug last day is next Thursday, so we'll be putting the word out.
Do you have an interim?
We do have an interim hire, yes.
Good.
And I'd like to wish you all the best in Tulare County. It's a great place. Thank you for all your hard work you've done for us while you've been here.
Director Kale?
Skylar, if that's the way you react when Stacy embarrasses you, you are way too cool.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Okay. I guess we need more rain, right? Okay. That's it. Anything? Anything? Oh, you already went.
Don't ask me again. I can keep going.
Well, I know. We were going to set a record until we all started talking.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. It's interesting. I serve on the Air Pollution Control District Board, and this morning we had our meeting. We allocated $30 million for near zero emission buses, and the same discussion with the same company. And then more shocking is on January 1st of 2023, all trucks have to be year model 2010 or newer. And so there's quite a few 2009 still on the road. And one of the, Emmanuel Cunha is the director of the Farmers League. He said that some companies have to put in their budget, have asked trucking companies what the cost of the trucks are going to be and when they can get them. So they're 65 to 72 weeks out, and the price range is $575,000 to $900,000. So they won't sell one, right? And that's the range they give because they just have no idea. So I suggest you buy all the rice and beans you think you're going to need for the next year or two, and have some vegetable seeds on stock too. So things are going to get ugly in California, anyways. All right. With that, meeting's adjourned.
Kind of a downer note. Thank you very much.
You'll go outside. It's raining. Everybody's happy again. No. What is it?
Raining like that all the way from Sacramento.
I think